Well, good afternoon, everyone, or maybe good evening or morning, depending where you're joining us from. Welcome here to the Launchpad and our live countdown to launch coverage of the final V2 Starship Flight Test 11. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. My name's Zach, the founder and host here at the Launchpad Network. And here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together. We're glad to have you joining us live here tonight. As we get started, take a moment, let us know in the chat. There's so many people watching from around the world. We're going to be answering your guys' comments and questions while we go through today's countdown. Just 2 hours, 11 minutes, and counting till launch. It's been 49 days since the last launch from Pad 1 at Starbase, where we saw Ship 37 and Booster 16 launch on Flight Test 10. Probably the most successful flight of the V2 variant of Starship. And here we are tonight, hopeful to see yet again a repeat of that, maybe even more success of that, before we say goodbye to V2 Starship, goodbye to the first iteration ever of a Starship launch pad for a full stack vehicle, before they switch over to Tower 2 and Pad B, Pad 2, depending what you want to call it, in the early parts of next year. We'll hopefully see that sooner than later, but we do know there's going to be probably a couple months at least into the new year, but we'll see how SpaceX development goes. Earlier today, we saw that they started rolling segments of Starship 39, the first V3 Starship, into the bays to begin stacking those. So they are already well into construction of those vehicles in preparation for version 3. But we're here to say goodbye to version 2. But as we get started, we're going to check in with all of you, check in with our live cameras that are out in the field. We're going to be switching in and out of them as we go through today's broadcast to get you guys the best view. We're also going to be following along on the timeline. The tank farm, as you can see on this center shot on your screen, we can see what many call the Pope vent. We can see that activity as they spool up the tank farm in preparation to actually be able to begin propellant loading. But we've still got well over an hour until we go into that propellant loading. At T-minus 1 hour, 15 minutes, that's when the flight director will do a go, no go for prop load for Super Heavy and Starship. And of course, we'll take you through all of those timelines as we go through them here today, but we're going to be following along as we continue through the broadcast. You're not here to see me, you're here to see Starship, so I'll pop up on the big screen every now and again, but we'll be rotating around our shot layouts here, get you the best possible view. We're going to be attempting, the first time ever for those that have been here in the past, going to try to do some live tracking for you guys as we expand our team, so stay tuned for that. We'll of course patch SpaceX in future broadcasts once they begin their broadcast as well. We've got people tuning in from literally all over the world. We're glad to have you here. We're going to get some shout outs in. Uncle Yukon in Washington State, Stratoblasters in Pennsylvania. We got Road Dogged in Kansas City. We got Chad camping in Arizona. John Edwards in Australia. We got Civil in the Georgian Republic. Welcome. 3D Shack in Sri Lanka. We got Armored Cav in Newfoundland. Pistons in Toronto. Gilbert is in Johnson Valley in California. Zoe's in Georgia. I don't know how to say your name, and I apologize, is in Turkey. We've got Philip in the UK, Ian's in Wisconsin, Roy's in Australia, Amy's in Michigan. Two people tuning literally in all over from around the world. I'm broadcasting from our TLP Canada studio and HQ in Edmonton, Canada. We're glad to be here, glad to be set up into the new studio. A little different than we've ever done before, but this is only thanks to your guys' support over this last year as we've navigated a number of bumps over the year. But we're glad to be getting back underway, continuing this mission. And when I say we have big things planned for 2026, you have no idea. Lots of things in progress. Some stuff will come even before the year. If you're a member and you like supporting our work, consider hitting that join button down below. 99 cents a month gets you that awesome TLP helmet next to your name. It's going to get your name into the scrolling bar, which I know needs updating. I'll make a quick asterisk of that. This will be updating in the next week or so. We are switching a system there for that. But if you want to see your name on future broadcasts, hit that button. It also helps support what we do and expand with these new things that we're working on. Let's just say that. And we're excited to give members an early preview of some of those over the coming months, as well as some member-only streams. So Lots of things to cover here today as we cover the next 2 hours and 7 minutes while we wait for propellant loading to begin. If you haven't yet, also follow us over on X, TOPN_official. That's where you can follow along and see the latest space news and updates on streams and things like that. We are, of course, monitoring the current launch calendar. There is also Project Kuiper 3 set to launch on a SpaceX Falcon 9. For those that read the time, it's currently targeting right about the middle of today's Flight 11 flight for Starship. So we do have our rocket chaser Gavin deploying out into the field on Spaceport East tonight, hopefully to get some live views, not only of Project Kuiper, but also of Starship here for you. If we do, we'll of course patch those in. But we're keeping an eye on whether that's going to go. 80% chance of violation for weather for Kuiper. So stay tuned for that. But Starship is looking good. Total flip on that weather, over 80% chance favorable for liftoff here down at Starship, looking like a beautiful day to close off the chapter of V2 and the first ever iteration of Pad A. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging me at the launch pad, and I'll work on answering those live. If you haven't yet, take a moment, share out the stream, and invite people to join us as we count down to watch some history here. Ice Aid says hi from Sweden, 11 p.m. here at night. Question: what changes have they done for this launch in compared to last launch? So they're looking at a few things. They're testing a new landing burn configuration. They've revised the heat shield yet again, testing some new placements, a very random placement on the lower flaps on Starship. The big part is iterating and proving out the Starship technology. So if they can iterate and make it even better than it did, that's going to be a big thing. If you remember back to Flight 10, we kind of had a repeat of one of the earlier flights where we saw a lot of burn through on the flaps. Big question is, can we see that not happen here today? And I'll take me big screen again, because the big question that always comes down to Starship is, if we can get to that point of re-entry, how well do the Starship heat shields hold up? Most people know them from the front side. That's what they look on the back with the attachment points. This was from Flight 7. Yeah, Flight 7, the first ever iteration of V2. So we're seeing one launch here today. This exploded technically in space, made its way back down to the Caribbean, and is now here in my hands. It gives you an idea of the size of one of these heat shield tiles. They vary in size now on the ship depending on their location. But the big question is, how well does this hold up to re-entry? That's one of the biggest things that's going to be holding Starship back from being able to go orbital, is are they able to actually reuse Starship? SpaceX has kind of made it pretty clear that they don't want to go to a expendable configuration. They really do want to try to be able to bring these back. Now, it might not be rapid reuse, but they want to go to reuse, not an expendable configuration, unless the mission actually requires it. Tonight's mission, though, unfortunately, we will be saying goodbye to Booster 15. It's flying for its second time here today on quite the turnaround. It is flying on a 221-day turnaround after previously flying on Flight 8, which launched on March 6th of this year. So we'll be saying goodbye to that booster, and then Ship 38 going for its first and final flight here today. We're going to take a look at the hazard maps and the launch trajectory a little bit later in our stream here today while we continue to follow along with the conditions. But if you have questions, you can keep sending those in the catch here. Colin says, yeah, no catch today, unfortunately. Saying goodbye to both of those vehicles here. Just a normal account asks, what is the role of Starship in the future? Starship has many uses, I guess is the best way to think of it. It's obviously going to have a military use. Everything in space does. But it also has the use of maybe one day doing point-to-point here on Earth for civilians, replacing long-distance air travel. We're seeing Boom Aerospace wanting to do that with supersonic flights. And then the other option is doing point-to-point with a rocket like Starship. Ultimately, Starship's biggest thing is Mars. Moon is a stopping point that's going to be used by NASA as the human landing system, but ultimately SpaceX's goal is making us multi-planetary and having over 1 million people on Mars, hopefully by 2050, 2060, 2070 in there. So that's what Starship will be for. Thank you so much for that victory super chat. Oh, I'm going to say your name wrong. I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry. Leoncia? Let me know in the chat how to say your name so I can say it correctly. But thank you so much for that generous super chat that goes into making this all possible, having cameras in the field. And we really appreciate your support, not only me, but our entire TLP crew. If you're interested in becoming part of the TLP crew, we do have the application in the chat there. You can send one of those in, and we'd love to expand our team as we're expanding our broadcast capabilities and our project capabilities. So if you're interested in maybe joining me as a future launch host on a future Starship stream, you're interested in writing space news or history, or maybe you just like helping keep the chat organized and want to be a moderator. Maybe you have a technical interest and you want to try to help control our cameras, track cameras live, or maybe you're a photographer or videographer near a launch site. Take a moment, fill out the application. We got 2 hours and a minute. Only takes about 5-10 minutes to fill it out. And we would love to connect with some of you and have some of you join our team as we get ready for a really big year of 2026. We are going to have V3 Starships, hopefully the first orbital Starship, the first Starship catch. Forgetting Starship, we're going to maybe have Falcon Heavy. We've got Artemis 2 heading to the moon. What's India going to do as they test their crew capsule? Russia's testing new vehicles. China's testing new vehicles. Will the UK finally launch a rocket from their land? We'll have to wait and see. But there's a lot of stuff happening next year, and we're excited to be covering that all for you guys live from our studio, but also out remotely in the field. Elysian saying in a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We also have a question coming in from Isaid. How are you doing on the schedule considering the moon and Mars trip? SpaceX actually just yesterday updated their website a little bit that they are going to be targeting 2028 for the first cargo missions to the moon, 2030 for the first missions to Mars. Those are going to be costing at $100 million per ton. But that is their current target for the Starship program. And it's amazing to start to have dates and that they are now telling people that they can start to buy space on these future Starship missions. Now, obviously, there's a big caveat. Starship has to work by then. So there is that asterisk, I'm sure, in the contracts that there could be a delay. But the fact that we're at that point that they're going to start selling Starship missions is really huge. We've seen a few crew ones sold. That we know Polaris program with Jared Isaacman will eventually fly a Starship. We're expecting that to be the first crewed flight, most likely. We thought we had Dear Moon. Unfortunately, that's not going to be happening anymore. And I know there's a couple other people that have pre-booked seats on a future Starship crew mission. So we'll have to wait and see if they start doing kind of like Polaris Dawn, where they fly into orbit, or do they end up doing these first crew missions where they're actually sending them to maybe lunar orbit or things like that. Big thing for Mars to remember, we have limited windows on when we can go to Mars. So that is a restriction there. So we'll likely see some of these moon missions as earlier ones. But that's their timeline. End of the decade. A little bit of a delay from what we were hoping. We were really hoping SpaceX was going to be able to maybe send some Starships in the launch window to Mars next year, but looks like everything's going to shift another 2 years to that next window for sending the robots on the first missions to prove Starship going to Mars, and then humans will be on the next one after that. Matthew, will Nord Space get off the ground? Fingers crossed. See, there's a question. Let us know in the chat who gets off the ground first, Canada or the UK. You can let us know in the chat there. Ian, love the new backdrop. The tiles and RGB lights are incredible touch. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. It's fun to have some of the tiles from Florida, some new ones, and featuring some incredible models here of some of our favorite rockets, from Starship to everyone's funniest rocket, to some incredible models from Boom Aerospace of their XB1 and their upcoming flight tests as well. Though it's not technically a rocket, it is something that's going to really change how we travel, and it'll be exciting to see. Just think, you take a Boom Supersonic, then you get on a Starship, hop to the other side of the world, jump on another Boom Supersonic. Really change how travel could be looking. If you have questions, you can send them in the chat, tagging me at the launch pad, and I'll work on answering those live. Six Knight says, is today's mission plan the exact same as IFT 10? Basically. They're going to be trying to repeat that. They're going to try to deploy those Starlink simulators that are on board. They're going to try to do an engine relight. And then the big thing is, can they re-enter better than they did last time? Now, last time we saw that burn through on the lower flap of Starship. Obviously, they want to see less burn through or no burn through. for the vehicle here. But we have to keep in mind with Flight 10, they also landed basically right next to their buoy, which is still showing that they were able to stay right on target compared to when they were still having basically a critical structural failure to the Starship launch vehicle. If you're just joining us, though, you're looking at live views from Starbase, Texas, where SpaceX is spooling up the tank farm in preparation for propellant loading. We are T minus 1 hour, 56 minutes, 40 seconds, and counting till launch. We have that large vent now coming from the tank farm as they get the compressors running and everything ready to chill the propellants that then will get loaded into Super Heavy and Starship. But we still have about an hour till we really see those propellants start to go. But it's less than 40 minutes now, about 45 minutes from now, SpaceX will be giving that go, no go for propellant loading if they stay set at their current T0. Their current T0 is looking at 6:15 local time, 7:15 p.m. Eastern for liftoff. Now they do have a launch window here today, so if they do need to slip for any reason, they can. But we haven't seen anything really say they're doing that, other than the fact that this event that we normally look for actually started quite a bit later than we've seen in previous flights. That doesn't mean that they're delayed. It just means that maybe they've been able to say, look, we don't need to start up as early. That's one of the interesting things with the Starship program is we only know what we know because of how much we've watched. We don't get full checklists from SpaceX of this vent means this and this means this, which means Starship Flight 12 will have absolutely no clue what's going on. We can make some guesses on what we'll see, but it's a new booster, a new ship, and a new pad, so there will be lots of changes there. Ice Age, do you want to go to the moon or Mars? And will they put other payload on the rockets they use Starlink satellites dummy on Starship rockets? I don't get the second half of that. Starship will launch Starlinks, the V3 Starlinks for the next generation of the constellation. It's actually a requirement. Starlink won't ever complete its constellation without Starship, so we really do need Starship to be able to be at least doing Starlink test flight missions where they actually deploy real Starlinks into orbit. Do I want to go to the moon or Mars? I kind of have this really weird idea of like low Earth orbit by like mid 30s, moon by mid 40s, Mars by mid 50, 60, as long as I can come back. Like, a 2 year cruise, 4 year cruise, you go there, spend the time, come back. I think that'd be great. I don't think Mars is going to be a place we all necessarily want to live. I've had the incredible privilege of living out in some very remote parts of the world, in China and Brazil, Nicaragua, and Kenya. So obviously not the same as having to live in a spacesuit on another planet, where if you step outside, you will not be there anymore. But it is a lifestyle. It's a choice to live on Mars, and it'll get better the more people are there and the longer that they're there. So I hope one day to see that red planet. Even just a flyby would be amazing. But low Earth orbit and moon, I hope I will definitely see in my lifetime. Mars will have to wait and see what happens. I'm catching up on your guys' questions, but you can keep sending them in the chat by tagging me at the launch pad, and we'll get those. Hi, yes, showing with the Astrospace Squire. How many squirrels will crew Starship as it makes its way to Mars on the first human and squirrel peace missions with the Martians? I don't know. Will we take squirrels to Mars? I mean, I've kind of raised squirrels, so I have a thing. I kind of like squirrels. We've had many baby squirrels in our backyard, so I mean, you can have them like a dog if you train them. So I mean, maybe. Question is, human squirrel peace mission. Who are we making peace with at the Martians? We're having to be talking to technically have a Martian. We have to send people there. They have to have children, and then those children have to have children, and that would be the first Martian. So we're talking. You and I are going to be old by then, but I mean, maybe one day we'll have to wait and see. Ian, will TLP do a VC in Discord at any point? Love to catch up. Yeah, we're trying to jump in Discord every now and again. We're doing some member hangouts as well, so working on doing those. We were focused on getting the studio set up ready for Starship, and testing some new equipment. So definitely keep an eye out. We're trying to pop in there every now and again. We've got 6 nights is the next configuration for Starship Booster V3, V2, respectfully. I believe that is correct. That it'd be V2 booster, V3 ship, because the booster does sit on it's a different stand. So that is what we'll be looking for there. We believe it'll be ship 39. I don't fully know off the top of my head what booster number we're thinking it'll be. Maybe one of the team in the back channels can drop it in the chat for me. Christopher, when do you think the first Starship launch from Florida? Oh, that's the big question. All of our rocket chasers in Florida are like, just bring Starship here. It'll be so much easier to cover. Um, Next year at some point. Will we see a full stack Starship fueled up next year in Florida? Yes. Will it launch? Good question. I think that's going to be the big thing. The tower's built. It has chopsticks. They're building the new next generation launch mount, but a lot of things have to go right for that to work. One of the things is SpaceX employees have confirmed they are going to transport Starship horizontally for Starship to go from Texas to Florida, which is interesting because in early Starships, they said Starship would not stand its structure horizontally. It was designed to be vertical. Booster 18, ship 29 is what we're looking for flight 12. Thank you, Gavin, for dropping that in there. I don't know if anyone else did as well, but it's the notification I saw. Yeah, perfect. But we'll wait and see how that works for Florida, if they're able to actually transport them horizontally, how well they do on the transport. That it's a long distance to go. Can they then rotate them back vertically in a well enough condition, get them out to the pad, get them on the pad, and then it's going to be the first ever Starship there. So there's likely going to be a couple weeks of checkouts, making sure everything's working, probably multiple wet dress rehearsals and dry dress rehearsals. So I think next summer maybe we start to see that process, but we'll wait and see what happens. Could we see a launch next year from Florida? Hopefully, but that's what SpaceX and Elon want to do. But we'll have to wait and see how that progresses. So you don't believe the UAPs are visiting? I believe that's a big question, and we got Starship to focus on. So we'll save that for another day. But there are many levels to UAPs, and we see NASA looking into those now. So are they from somewhere else, or are they just us looking at each other and not telling each other? We'll have to wait and see. Ice Aid, would you like to see a Tesla dummy bot in a rocket prototype? Humanoid rocket, it's a passenger for testing. That's the plan, actually. The plan is that Optimus will be launched. That's the name of Tesla bot now. Optimus will launch in a team to Mars on the early Starships to hopefully help do the setup on the base before humans get there. So that's the plan, which is kind of awesome, but also kind of like, really, robots are going to be there first? I mean, we have rovers, but the first like human looking thing is going to be a robot, not a human. We'll see. Occasional space. Will Starship carry potatoes and ketchup for the Martians? Yes. I think it also should be required to carry extra ketchup and extra salt and pepper. And if something were to happen that you have to survive off of those for a very long period of time, you don't use the salt, the pepper, and the ketchup at the same time. You alternate. Then you last 3 times longer and you at least have some flavor and not just no flavor after a long period of time. Also, you have a thing that makes water, which should pull the salt out of the water, so you should have an unlimited supply of salt as well. Please tell me someone got the reference in the chat. 6 Nights, sorry for asking too much. No such thing, that's why we're here. Will the V3 Raptors going to be used for V3 Starship? And when do you think we'll reckon we'll have Flight 12? Yes, so V3 will be on the next generation of Starship. Flight 12, I mean, we'll drop a poll in the chat here in a second, see what you guys think. I don't think before February. Could we see a rocket on the pad in January? Maybe, but I think that's the earliest we'll see at this point. But we'll wait and see what happens. Has launch happened yet? Nope, you're just in time. We got the big countdown way on that side of the screen. 1 hour, 47 minutes and counting till launch here. We're waiting for Starship to begin fueling operations. Zombie says, just think, some lucky person will be the first ever one to eat a hot dog on Mars, and I wish I could be that person. That'd be an interesting first to have. If you're just joining us, though, welcome here to the Launchpad and our live coverage of launch here today. We're keeping a close eye on Starship as they get it fueled up and ready to go for launch here today. There's lots of activity. Whoop, didn't mean to do that. Lots of activity down on the launch site as we wait for that fueling to begin of Starship. You can see the full stack there, ready to go. The pad is clear. The beach is closed. We did that in the reverse order, but they are well into their countdown. SpaceX generally runs anywhere from a 10 to 12 hour countdown for these Starship launches internally. And now we're well into that last hour and 46 minutes. One of the big things to note is we did have a launch previously on this day, all the way back. If you think about it, a year ago, we had Starship Flight Test 5. And that was a really big deal because that was the first ever time a super heavy booster was caught. And that was booster 12. And then we had ship 30, which splashed down in the Indian Ocean as well. That was that second last flight of V1. And we had an incredible flight there. And then we went into V2 and, well, V2 happened. And we're excited to get out of V2 and get to V3. But one of the milestones that I just said there was that they caught the booster. And I'll pop myself full screen here for just a moment. But a special thing to have, I'm going to make sure I cover the number that's on here. So we're not going to broadcast that. I think that's covered. This is actually a piece, and I'll take it out so it's a little bit easier to see it closer to the screen. This is actually a piece of the hot stage ring that flew on October 13th, 2024, as part of Flight Test 5. So crazy to hold a heat shield tile, but even crazier to hold something that this launched on a booster, got absolutely roasted by a Starship, then was jettisoned and free fell back to the ocean, and it's still in like relatively one piece. Now, keep in mind, the hot stage rings are absolutely massive, but if I bring that a little bit closer, you can see where there still is, markings and everything. This will focus on it instead of me, from that flight. So if any of you know the graphics of the hot stage ring, maybe you can tell me roughly where you think this piece was from. But a really cool special piece to have in the studio and my collection as we commemorate and follow along with the Starship program here as we get closer and closer to an improved launch cadence and hopefully towards a successful reuse not only of Starship but of the entire Starship program. Looks like we're having a boat visitor coming past on one of the cameras. Looks like one of our cameras might be a little bit ahead of the other one there. That happens with the delay on the internet signals, but a beautiful day down at Starbase, Texas, as we count down an hour, 43 minutes to launch. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream. I say weather's looking really, really good. Robert, have you seen this in person before? Yes. Was lucky enough to be there for Flight 1, where I ingested part of Starship. And I was there for Flight 6, where Starship was supposed to be caught, the booster, and then they didn't. So both times I've gone, I've not had the best success, but I've seen 2 launches. Well, one I saw the tip move, and then I felt the launch. The second time I was there, I actually saw the entire launch, and it's incredible to be up close to this vehicle just hours before liftoff, and then actually see it fly across the sky. Catching up on the chats that you guys are sending. Don't forget to tag me at the launch pad while we work on those. Kelly, so cool you're having history in your hands. Yeah, there's some Some special pieces we'll get to show you guys now and then. If you remember, we kind of did an unboxing setting up the new studio a few weeks ago, showed off some new pieces. I will actually grab one of the other ones possibly a little bit later in the stream because we can compare the Starship heat shield tile to something else. So stay tuned for that a little bit. It looks like a tuning fork. It does. I promise it's not a tuning fork. I did not go to the store and get it. Now, if SpaceX did, that's a SpaceX question, but we'll wait and see. Ice Aid, how many parts of space do you have? Look like you're gonna keep going and build your own rocket. Well, I'm gonna need a lot more pieces to do that. There's 3,500 of those hot stage ring pieces, and I don't know that would give me enough to complete one, but we'll wait and see. I'm very lucky, and that's because of you guys being here. I would not be able to have near this many items or models in my presence or ownership if it wasn't because of the launch pad and being able to have those items to use with you guys for education. We're definitely going to aim flame at one of these heat shields in the future. Maybe we'll try to do that for flight 12, do that live on air, and we've got the torch off camera, so we can maybe try to flame up a Starship tile, make some roasted marshmallows or something. Colin looks like a tug. Yep. There's this wonderful boat that has been in the screen if you've been watching our 24/7 camera, because that's right. If you're just joining us, these cameras are live 24/7 ahead of launch and every day. So if you want to follow along with the development of Pad 2, and if you want to follow along with the deconstruction of Pad 1 and its new pad, we'll be having these live on our Starbase Now stream, which is still up and running right now, independently from this one. But I don't know if the people on this boat watch our stream, but if you do, thank you for moving the boat. For the last week, this boat's big truss structure tower has been basically perfectly in line with the ship, and yesterday they moved it. So we're grateful that we have a clear view here today, because otherwise there was nothing we were going to be able to do other than look through the truss structure. So we're glad to have a nice clear view here today. Colin, for sure, real piece. Yeah. Dreamland, nice new mic. I appreciate it. It's yeah. Let me know how this is looking, sounding, the layouts, what you like, what you don't like. We like having feedback here at the Launchpad. We've made some upgrades, so there's new camera, new mic, new equipment, new lighting, new. I think the only thing that's not new is the stream deck, and it's not even plugged in yet. So basically a completely all new system to make sure that we can bring you guys even better coverage. And we're still working on expanding that. We're going to do a studio tour for our members by the end of the year. I'm not going to promise by the end of this month, but by the end of the year, we'll work on having that. There should be a barbecue grill with the aspect of a hot stage rig. Ooh, that'd be fun. Giving us some ideas. Sander in space on Mars, a large bottle of vitamin D would be needed too, since there's no direct sun on your skin. It would help with the seasonal depression. That's very true. And as someone that lives up very far north in Edmonton, Canada, where it got down to minus, what was it? Minus 12, so 12 Fahrenheit last night with snow around the city. It's October. No. Very big adjustment from living in Florida. But yeah, seasonal depression is a thing, and it'll be interesting to see how we navigate that on even the 6-month missions to Mars. You know, you're going to be inside, not able to go outside at all. These are things that we're testing on the International Space Station, and we'll have to test more as we go to Mars. Ice Aid, when do you get your own camera near the pad? So these 3 are our own. We have plans for closer cameras if we can get them to work. And it's not the functionality of them, it is more the legality of just being able to have cameras. They're you know, this is a private property area. You can't just drop cameras kind of wherever you want. So there are rules around that. So we've been looking into what the options are as we get you know, more equipment. It's also more than just having to have a camera down there on site. You have to have systems back here at the studio to be able to process all of it and then put it out to you guys to have keep access to it as well. So lots of things we're considering, but we kind of want to go on the Apple method. We might not be first, but when we do something, we are going to try to be best, or at least be the best that we can be. And that's kind of the method we want to do rather than run and burn by saying we're going to deploy something and then it doesn't work. So tried that before. It doesn't work well. Ella, I'm from Toronto, living in Florida. Hello. I'm jealous. I was there last year this time. I miss it greatly. 6 nights. Will you set up a drone cameras for tracking the launch or flying closer to the pad? So drone cameras is something that's also very restricted. We could fly a drone basically where these cameras are now, but you would be getting a shot somewhere between the shot right below me and the shot in the bottom left corner. That is what you would get from a drone. And that would be a very, very expensive, massive drone. That it ultimately just really wouldn't be worth it. You can't use it in Florida. You can use it some other launch sites internationally, but there's a lot of restrictions around that because you have to deal with airports and other airspace. You have to have licensing to be a drone pilot, so it's not like I can just go out and do it and learn it. So there's a lot of things around that we'll leave the drone shots to SpaceX, and we'll try to get some cameras closer up for you guys for Flight 12. But yeah, if you happen to live down at Starbase or live near any launch site around the world, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to connect with you guys and see what you guys are, where you're located. Maybe see about partnering together if we can in the near future. Saturn in space. I can't wait to see Dawn Aerospace build human space planes. Yes, absolutely. Sandra, go Oilers. Hopefully. Let's get back to playoffs again. We got McDavid again, so hopefully. What I'm going to do, we're at T minus 1 hour, 35 minutes, just under and counting, which means we're about 20 minutes away from when propellant load go no go should occur. So what we're going to do, and you guys don't have to go anywhere. I'm going to take a very, very quick commentary break, rest my voice because we still have 3 to 4 hours of coverage to bring you guys. And I want to make sure that I still can talk through all of that. So as we get closer to that, we'll, of course, continue to answer your guys' comments and questions as we continue through the broadcast. So you can keep sending in those questions, and I'll work on answering them. If you send them in while I take this quick commentary break, then I'll answer them right when I get back. So you don't have to worry about me missing them. And then what we'll do is we'll be keeping a close eye here on all of the shots that we have as we await for propellant loading to get underway here. Once we have that go, no go, and then we'll run through what really becomes a really exciting hour of coverage here as Starship gets ready to launch. The next events that we're going to see are going to kind of start popping up all across the bottom of the screens there across the pad. And then we wait for the bigger vents to start coming from the base of the tower and the tower. So stay with us right here on the launch pad, T minus 1 hour, 33 minutes, 33 seconds and counting till launch. Stay with us for Starship Flight Test 11. And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our live countdown to launch coverage for the final flight of Starship V2. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the launch pad. And as you can see, we are now well into that expected time of that go no go for propellant loading. We're keeping all of our eyes now on the tower. That will be where we see the tower venting begin. And that's normally the sign that we get that they have had a go for propellant loading. The other way is if SpaceX releases a tweet or post on X. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that as well while we monitor all of the situations here as we continue to count down to launch. But we're glad to have you here. We got a few questions in the chat from while I took a little commentary break there. But if you guys have more questions, you can keep sending those in by tagging me at the launch pad, and I'll work on answering those live. I did want to make a quick little promo of it. If you want to know more about upcoming launches on that are happening, we are working on a brand new website. Our current website is down, so just be aware of that. If you go to tlpnetwork.com, it's not up right now, but it is coming soon. We're excited to get that out to you in the future. It's got a little work to go, but it's going to be a big overhaul, and we're really excited for it. But to stay up to date on the latest and kind of all the details of the missions while we work on getting our new site online, you can head on over to X. That is where one of our amazing team members posts our launch alerts, and he made one for today. And we might have to talk after the launch on whether he did a good job or not. But this is the launch alert that we got for Starship Flight 11. So if you're interested in joining the TLP crew, maybe as a graphic designer, or maybe in one of our other positions as a launch commentator, moderator, space news writer, you can definitely send in one of the applications. The link is in the chat there, and we'd love to connect with you and have you join us as we continue to expand our coverage. Get ready for Artemis 2 and 3 and lots more. And we a big thank you to Andrew for these posts. But yeah, Andrew, we'll have to have a meeting after launch. So that's that. Back to the launch. You can see that tank farm coming back online really well here. Nice big vent there. Waiting to see that venting starting to come from the Starship tower. That'll be a great sign that we are heading towards propellant loading here. We do expect propellant loading to begin at the T-minus 53-minute mark, with liquid methane beginning load onto the ship. So that's where we really do expect to see those vents start to pick up on the tower and the ship a lot more over the next few minutes here, if we are going to remain on timeline for liftoff at the opening of today's window. We're going to catch up on some of your guys' questions that you've sent in while we await confirmation that we are locked in for a launch window here today. Clutch asked, how many more test flights will there be? There's a trend going on right now that we debated that would be really funny to answer with that, but I'm not going to do it. But if you think about it, it's not 6-9, it's something else. But that's a great question. It depends how V3 goes and how many of them blow up. I think we all thought V2 wouldn't have been around as long as it was, but it really depends how V3 goes, the new pad goes. And ultimately, there'll always be test flights as they iterate and make new ships, new boosters, new modifications. So there'll be lots more test flights in the future. I think the question is, when do we start seeing operational orbital test flights? So they might even still be test flights, but they might have real Starlinks on board. Hopefully by the end of next year we see that. But ultimately they need to pick up. We need Starship to start working. We need it to start getting contracts, and we need to start pushing forward to be able to become multi-planetary. A huge thank you to Mark Wandry, $5 super chat. I appreciate your support there. Do you think the Pez dispenser mechanism has been updated, or just the timing and the operation? I'm sure that they've made some changes for it. We saw that on the last flight, it finally worked. They were able to successfully open a door, and so that was a great success there. We did see some of the Starlinks on the way out hit the door, so maybe they'll have to make some adjustments on the size of the door. But I think there's always tweaks. There will always be tweaks, but until we get into those operational ships where they're really just turning it into a convoy of manufacturing like they do with Falcon now. So it's a great question there. Catching up on the rest of your guys' questions here. Adrian, how can I see all Launchpad nerdy products. If you go to the launchpad.store, our store is still up. We're working on rolling out some new things here over the coming weeks as we get ready for the holiday season. And actually, I meant to grab one of these. Just grab that one. Meant to grab one of these before the broadcast, but there was a popular request from many people when we tore down the studio in Florida earlier this year that you see we have a heat shield wall here. But there was requests from team members as well as non-team members to purchase the old sound tiles. So these are not Starship heat shield tiles. These are not Starship tiles. But if you are interested in owning a piece of TLP history, these are the tiles from the old studio. I will be signing them and we will be numbering them, and they are limited edition, one of 69, and they will be going up on the shop a little bit later this year for the holiday season. They'll be limited, obviously access. There's only 69 of them, and we'll do international shipping and stuff on those. So keep an eye out. If you're a member, you'll get early access. So keep an eye out on that. We just got those all ready to go. We have venting coming from the tower there on the screen down below me. You can see that vent now really starting to pick up at the center part of the tower. A great sign that we are continuing into propellant loading here this afternoon for launch of Starship Flight 11. Ice Age, do you have any merch? I do. I don't have all my samples. I am wearing one. This is our Starliner. I realize I'm small. I probably should make myself a little bit bigger for you guys to be able to see this. This is our Starliner repeat tee. We have this offered for Starship, for Falcon, a number of other things, so you can definitely head on over there. Check that out. I realized I was small when I showed this. If you want one of these, they're all unique. Definitely head on over to the shop there. Keep an eye on out as we roll out some collections for the holiday season this year and our very first TLP calendar. So we're really excited for that coming in the next couple of weeks as well. Selling my wall. This wall I'm keeping. This one's not going anywhere. But the Florida wall, if you'd like to own a piece of history, definitely is possible. We did want to take a quick moment while we continue to watch that venting around the launch site develop here and take a look at today's launch trajectory and hazard maps. Here, these are created by Andrew and the same Andrew that made that poster. Yeah, we're still going to have a talk to him after this launch, but we did want to take a quick look at what we can see here for the trajectory for launch here. I'm just going to straighten the map up so that we're looking north. There we go. And so you can see the trajectory there, squeezing just south of the Bahamas after it passes over the Gulf of America. I'll address it right away. This is a U.S. launch for a U.S. launch provider, legally in the United States. On the launch license, it says Gulf of America. If this was a Mexico launch, we would say Gulf of Mexico, but it's not. The launch continues over the Bahamas, just to the north of Cuba, passing over Turks and Caicos, north of the Dominican, just north of the British Virgin Islands and Anguilla, continuing out where we have another hazard entry map zone. These were all added from these earlier V2 flights. And just a quick note on that left side of your screen, you can really see that tower venting starting to pick up here as we get closer to the beginning of propellant loading. Liquid methane expected to begin at T-minus 53 minutes. So we're just 6 minutes away from propellant beginning to load onto Starship Super Heavy. Their trajectory is going to continue towards dipping just south, passing over Africa here, coming down over Namibia and Botswana, just getting a nip of South Africa and Mozambique, just skimming south of Madagascar, and that is where the re-entry hazard zones open up over the basically entire duration of the Indian Ocean here towards Western Australia and south of Indonesia there, south of Jakarta. So it is a large zone that they have blocked out. for this, and this is for the safety of reentry and the safety of launch. If something were to go wrong, they want to make sure that there's no cruise ships in the middle of this, no aircrafts in the middle of this. And that is why we see these large hazard maps here today. These are available on the launch alert, and we're bringing them to some other things in the near future as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But the big focus right down here towards Brownsville, and that is where we have the extra zones for the booster splashdown. So you can see here where we have the approximate location of where stage separation and then the booster splashdown will be. Booster splashdown may be visible from South Padre Island, so if you are in that area, make sure that you're looking out over the Gulf there in preparation for launch. Elmine splashdown will be about 32 kilometers off the shore. I'm hearing from the back channel there. So it is possible you're dealing with the curvature of the Earth, so you're not actually going to see the point of impact. But we did have Gavin out there for flight 6, and it had an incredible shot of the explosion, though. So it is definitely possible to, if there's when the explosion happens, to see that and to see it on its entry. Catching up on your guys' comments and questions while going back full screen there on that beautiful tower venting. And you can see some other venting now coming from around the base of the tower and the pad. Another great sign here that they are continuing towards liftoff here today. We're keeping an eye out for confirmation from SpaceX of any sort of confirmation of any shift in the T0 at all. That could happen, obviously, just dependent on when they did that actual go for launch for today's flight. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that here today. Ian says, less than an hour, let's go. Yeah, super exciting. Tony's watching from Johnson, Pennsylvania. Welcome. Great to have you here. I know we got people tuning in all over the world. I know some of you did shout outs where you were watching from a little bit earlier in the chat, and we're glad to have you here. We got Maria watching from the UK as well. Welcome. Al's right now we're at a G2 storm level. Was asking about the solar storms for the ship fleet. We haven't been told a ton on what that'll look like for Starship and for the crews. They haven't really dived into the internals of Starship. And we have confirmation now from SpaceX that they are go for propellant loading. That just confirmed by SpaceX. So we are officially counting down to launch here today of Starship Flight 11, which is incredible that we're here. It's been just 49 days since the last launch of Flight 10, which was a really successful flight. It was basically complete success of all of their milestones, other than the fact that they couldn't reuse it because they splashed the ship and the booster. But that's what we're hoping to see a repeat here of today as we close out the history of Pad A. You can see one of the range helicopters circling around there as they step towards this fueling process. This is when we really want to make sure that range is locked down, that no one's in the area, no violations, or they'd have to consider doing something that we're not even going to say because we don't want it to happen. But everything looking great for a launch opportunity here today. Catching up on those questions that you sent in. Joni said this is going to be exciting. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I also saw Colin upgraded his membership. Thanks for becoming a member there, supporting what we do. Al, any ideas when SpaceX is going to move orbit ops offices to Starbase, Texas? Do they have that already? I don't know if they have that currently, but I mean they're moving headquarters there, so headquarters is now technically at Starbase for all of SpaceX. So we'll wait and see how that goes. We got Ian Cope Dog watching from DC. Welcome. Fairground is in Cornwall in the UK. New Zealand has joined the chat, says Ross. And we got Poff God in Portugal. Welcome. We got Ashley watching from Texas. Glenn is in Cornwall as well. Great to see you here. Stefan from Calgary, welcome. Stealth Mode says, hey, Zach and TLP crew. Appreciate you shouting them all out. We've got a bunch of them in the back channels, helping make sure that chat's good, getting me information as we get it. We'll have Magnus trying to track the launch here while I make sure we're splitting between all the streams, making sure we get you guys the best view. So we appreciate you guys shouting them out too. It wouldn't be possible without everyone. Everything continuing to look good. SpaceX confirmed that they are go for propellant loading here. And we have had confirmation that we see the tower event obviously very clearly on your screen. In the top left image, you can just barely see it, but there is some venting coming from the back of the OLM as well. So another good sign. We're continuing there, and we'll hopefully see that frost line start to develop. Ultimately, we're not going to have an exact T0 that they're targeting until SpaceX goes live. Once they do, then we'll be able to sync our T0 with theirs. But at this time, they are continuing towards that liftoff time here today. Okay, one of the team in the back just said we have held the clock at T-minus 1 hour and 2 seconds on the SpaceX website. So we're going to navigate that. Apologies to a couple of chats that got deleted there for the hold. We hadn't seen that come through just yet. So we are in a hold. And we're going to see how long this hold ends up holding for. They do have a window of time that they can launch here today. So if for some reason they're having to navigate that, then they can. Bear with me while I try to see what we can figure out for you guys here as we get a little bit more information, hopefully, around what is actually in the hold of the window here this afternoon. Hopefully they'll be able to resume the count here momentarily. Glenn Richards, thanks so much for becoming a suborbital explorer. I appreciate it. Ice Age, you're a huge collector. You can get some Mars rocks. It's probably rocks when they visit Mars, but they're going to collect some for sale. I would love to own a moon rock or a Mars rock. Yes, please. I have a dinosaur bone, so it'd be a cool thing to add to the collection. See if we can adjust this here for you guys. There we go. We are in a hold at this current time. We'll okay, and the clock is running. T-minus 58 minutes, 55 seconds and counting. Right when we get the clock updated, we step right back into it. So here we go. Clock is running. We're gonna sync hours. So we had about a 7.5 minute delay there, but that is okay. They do have time in the window, so bear with me while we sync this clock with theirs on what looks to be a new T0 target time. Currently now targeting 6:23 and 41 seconds roughly for launch here today. So there, that countdown clock updated and now running. Likely what that means is they started to prep the tower and the pad, or that go, no go came a little bit later because we're expecting that first fueling to begin at the 53-minute mark. and that is obviously we didn't get to that point, so that's where we had that hold happen. But we are back into a running clock countdown, and we're going there. Catching up on your guys' comments and questions in the chat. You can send those in by tagging me at the launch pad, and we'll work on answering those live. If you haven't yet, take a moment, share out the stream, invite people to join us as well. Really does help us out. We appreciate your guys' support in doing that. We're going to move one of the cameras here in just a moment so you guys can have a little bit better, closer up shot on the ship there. It's where we should expect to see the first bit of frost develop on the vehicle. Mama Oki, thank you so much for becoming a suborbital explorer. Appreciate that. Glenn Richards upgrading to lunar explorer. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support there as well. Adrian, how cold is it in Canada? It got down to minus 12 Celsius last night outside the city. So that's about 12 Fahrenheit. So it was not the nicest of days, that's for sure. But it isn't too bad. We're navigating it. It's winter. We knew it was coming. Not as exciting as Texas or Florida, though, where you got launches. Take a moment, let us know where you're watching from, let us know the temperatures, maybe. We are following along now, just about 2 minutes away from when that ship load should begin with the liquid methane. Following that, we'll have liquid oxygen begin loading at the 46-minute mark. We'll bring that timeline of events back up for you guys there on the screen. Have to drop it a little bit lower because of where I am, but you can see there we got road closed, pad clear, tank farm active. Now we're stepping into that ship locks load, expected to begin here in just a few minutes from now. David, that was the shortest hold I've ever seen. Well, don't challenge them. They'll do another one. We don't want another one. But we'll see how today's timeline goes. They do have more time if they need to move that count for any reason. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that here today. So we get closer and closer to that liftoff time, and we'll keep a close eye on the ship here as well as we wait for that fuel loading to begin. And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad, L minus 31 minutes and counting. And then as you can see in the top right corner of your screen, SpaceX, we've got spooled up on the left side of your screen. You can see the propellant loading now well underway. The frost lines now becoming visible on both booster and the ship as we get ever closer to a liftoff here this evening. SpaceX now officially targeting 6:23 p.m. and 41 seconds. Weather continuing to look great for launch here tonight. The launch window does run all the way till 7:30 p.m. Local time in Starbase, but now that we are under propellant loading, they do have the ability to hold for a few minutes. But if they were to do that at this point, they would be holding at the 40-second mark in the countdown, like we've seen them do a number of times before. And if they do that, they're able to hold there for a period of time, but not too much. Otherwise, we would have to see a backup opportunity as early as tomorrow. But at this time, nothing really pointing towards that. Just giving you the latest information there as we get closer to that T0. If you haven't yet, take a moment, share out the stream, invite your friends and family, your neighbors, your dogs, and maybe even the people you don't like to join us to watch as we get into the most exciting part of the countdown, the last 30 minutes of that. The liquid oxygen and liquid methane are now both loading onto ship and booster. And you can see SpaceX beginning their live broadcast here. So what we're going to do during this period of time is we'll be going back and forth between our cameras and SpaceX's cameras. We will patch in SpaceX Mission Control audio and their stream. As long as they're not playing a video with copywritten music like they are right now, then we will be listening into them. And then in between that, I'll be answering your guys' comments and questions. Once we get into flight, when we hope to see that, we will begin to answer your guys' comments and questions again once we arrive at the coast phase of the flight, where we await for the Starlink deployment, and then again as we wait for Starship to make its reentry. But everything looking like a great opportunity for a launch happening here today. L minus 28 minutes, 40 seconds and counting. We will sync our T0 with SpaceX's once they begin their live coverage commentary here in just a moment. So make sure you're staying with us right here on the launch pad as we count down the final flight of Starship V2, the final flight from Pad A.
Hello everyone and welcome to Starbase, Texas for the 11th flight test of the world's largest and most powerful reusable rocket, Starship. Today's flight marks our second reuse of a super heavy booster and what's expected to be the final launch of our second generation vehicle. I'm Amanda Lee, a build reliability engineer here at SpaceX.
And I'm Jake Berkowitz, a lead propulsion engineer on our SpaceX Raptor team. Today we're coming to you live from Star Factory, just under 2 miles away from the rocket on the pad. Right outside on the lawn, the crowd is starting to gather, and after liftoff, we expect that crowd to head back in to watch the rest of the launch with us and have a party.
And right behind us are 3 generations of Raptor engines, the third of which we're looking to debut on the next generation of Starship. And we'll talk a little bit more about that upgraded rocket later in the program.
Yeah, and if you watched Flight 10, you'll know it was a really, really good day for Starship. All objectives were met, and we got tons of great data to learn from. And today, we're looking to build on the success of that flight.
Yeah, that's right. Like in Flight 10, we're again planning to deploy Starlink simulator satellites as well as test the limits of ship's heat shield during reentry. A controlled descent, flip maneuver, and soft splash in the Indian Ocean are also planned for ship. And hopefully, our recovery team will be able to deliver some more of those amazing views that we got back on Flight 10.
Yeah, those views are just awesome. Another crazy thing, and for those of you keeping track, today actually marks the 1-year anniversary of our historic first ever booster catch. That was Booster 12. And even though we're not attempting a catch today, every time we launch a Starship, it's a big day. All right, so everyone buckle up because maximum excitement is guaranteed.
All right.
And Dan Hewitt joins us from over near Mission Control. Dan, how are things looking for launch today?
Hey, Jake. Hey, Amanda. Hey, everybody. We are looking great. I'm Dan Hewitt with SpaceX Communications. That's right. Right behind me is our Launch Control Center here at Starbase. Flight control team is on there. They're getting Starship and Super Heavy ready for liftoff. So as you can tell, when we look at the vehicle, prop load is underway. Things are looking good. We did shift our T0 a little bit. We're tracking to 6:23 p.m. Central Time, just a couple minutes into our window. All right, so as we noted, back in August, Flight 10, it did all the things. Did all the things we wanted it to do. Started off with Super Heavy, those 33 Raptor engines igniting, lifting off right at the top of its window at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. It was able to do a successful ascent, followed that up with hot staging, Starship's upper stage igniting those 6 Raptor engines, separating Super Heavy, making its way back down. We saw the hot stage pop off. It then completed its boost back burn, put it on the course towards that splashdown zone. It successfully did that landing burn when we intentionally disabled one of those 3 center engines. During the final phase of that, used a backup engine, entered into its final hover, shut down the engines, and then splashed down into the water. Ship, meanwhile, completed full duration ascent burn, got to its planned velocity, successfully put it on that suborbital trajectory, and then it was on to the in-space stuff. That first in-space objective was completed. 8 of those Starlink simulators were deployed. That was the first successful payload demonstration we've ever had from Starship. Each of these simulators, similar in size to the V3 Starlinks that we're going to be launching next year to add significant capacity and capability to the network. Then it was on to our second ever in-space relight of a Raptor engine. That's a key capability for when we're going to do deorbit burns on future orbital missions, and then when we're doing deep space maneuvers. Then on to the critical reentry phase, we're able to get data on the performance of that heat shield, the ship structure, push the envelope on it, using the flaps, got it down to the splashdown zone, did the landing flip, did the landing burn. Killer views from the recovery team, soft splashdown over in the Indian Ocean. We were just about 3 meters off of our target, so pretty much nailed it. It was a huge day, tons of excitement here at Starbase. Just a reminder, though, this is still the early days. I mean, we're on Flight 11 today. There's a lot more we're going to do to get full reusability, increase our launch cadence, eventually start sending missions to the Moon and Mars. I mean, we've got thousands of launches to come. But for now, we're looking good for launch. Toss it back down to Amanda and Jake.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Starship is the first orbital launch vehicle engineered to be fully reusable, just like a commercial airliner. In fact, to the end, we're actually reflying a Super Heavy booster for the second time today. This booster last flew on Flight 8. So let's just start with how powerful this rocket really is. When you stack Starship up against one of the world's biggest airplanes, the 747, a single Raptor engine is actually double the thrust of all 4 airplane engines put together. So that means the Super Heavy over in the pad right now, with its 33 Raptors, is equal to the power of about 64 747s.
Yeah, that's just crazy, Amanda. The power this rocket generates is incredible. To be specific, it's over 16.7 million pounds of thrust. Numbers almost incomprehensible, but it's just crazy. All right, to break it down, Starship is made of 2 parts. First is the Super Heavy booster, which is powered by 33 of those Raptor engines that run on liquid methane and liquid oxygen. And second is the Starship upper stage, powered by 6 Raptor engines. 3 are optimized for sea level performance, and 3 are for vacuum performance with that larger nozzle extension. All right, it's the Starship second stage that will one day carry cargo, payloads, and people all the way to Mars and beyond.
The Super Heavy booster is designed to launch, separate, flip, and return to the launch site where it can be caught by the chopsticks on the launch tower. However, as previously noted, we won't be attempting one of those catches today. Starship, on the other hand, re-enters the Earth's atmosphere at the conclusion of its mission, steering itself to a vertical landing or catch. And both stages are designed to return to Earth and fly again, making this the first rocket in history that will be fully reusable.
Yeah, and we cannot forget that between the 2 vehicles is the hot stage ring, a structure made of steel that allows the ship's engines to ignite while still attached to the booster, enabling a faster and more efficient stage separation. Right now, that hot stage ring is single use, but in the future, it will be built in directly to the V3 booster forward end.
And finally, the infrastructure built to support Starship is referred to as Stage 0. This includes the launch pads, tank farm, and the launch towers, which hold the chopsticks that catch the Super Heavy booster and eventually will also catch the ship.
Yeah, and to get us ready for launch today, we recently conducted another static test fire, basically where we fire up the engines to mimic a launch without actually launching. You're seeing the booster on the screen right now. It's a crucial milestone to let us know we're ready to go. And then here we're seeing ship. We did this for the second time on a retrofitted mount on Pad 1. We had a full 9-second duration burn on all 6 engines.
We should also note that today's launch on Pad 1 is intended to be the last launch on this pad in this configuration. As we head into the next generation Starship flight test program, we'll be modifying Pad 1 to meet the demands of our future missions.
Yeah, and among many other things, we're installing a new orbital launch mount, a new flame trench system, and upgrading the chopsticks for future catches. So until that's complete, we'll be running operations from Pad 2, which will be coming online very soon. All right, let's go over to Hawthorne, where Tyler is ready to talk a little Starlink.
Thank you, Jake and Amanda. My name is Tyler Lionquist, and I'm a Starlink business analyst here at SpaceX. Starlink is SpaceX's low Earth orbit, high-speed internet that's bringing connectivity both on Earth and in space. So, Starship is outfitted again today with 4 Starlink terminals, powering those incredible live shots of ship in orbit, through re-entry, and then all the way down to splashdown in the Indian Ocean. Now, we've had a couple of recent milestones that are worth celebrating. Back in September, we launched Starlink for its 300th time. And this summer, we surpassed 7 million active customers with service available across 150 countries and territories. We've come a really long way since turning on service for our first paying customer in rural Idaho 5 years ago, back in October of 2020.
And as SpaceX plays a beautiful video about Starlink, we're going to take some time to answer your guys' comments and questions while we look at the live shots here as Starship and Super Heavy are now both well into propellant loading. And just moments ago, we stepped into engine chill, continuing us ever closer to liftoff here today. Ship propellant load complete, now just about 15 minutes away. That'll be followed up about 30 seconds later by booster load complete. And then we get down to that final hold point, that T-minus 40 seconds and holding mark for the final go for launch from the flight director from the launch team. So everything continuing to look really great here today. Weather's looking good in the area, and teams are well into, as I said, propellant loading. Catching up on your guys' comments and questions that you've been sending in the chat. If you have those, you can send them by tagging me at the Launchpad. Makes it a little bit easier for me to see in the ever-flowing quick chat, but we're glad to have you here. Hyde asks, why are they filling the ship before the booster? Don't they need the booster pressurized to support the weight above? So both booster and ship are always pressurized. That's actually something most people don't know, is that the vehicles need to have some level of pressure in them to just even support their own weight. So then when the ship is on the booster, it gets extra pressurized just to hold the weight of the empty ship. Now, they do begin loading into the ship first, but it is only a couple of minutes. It's about 6 minutes or so. Sorry, no. It's about 12 minutes before they begin loading the booster. But they load the booster quite a bit faster than the ship. So because of that, the booster is able to fuel up and hold that pressure there. We know with vehicles like SLS and some other launch vehicles that they do have slow fill and fast fill. So we probably expect it's kind of similar with the ship, where they start to load it slowly. And once they get the booster going, then they go into fast fill on both of them. So that is why we see that there. It's just what they've worked out as their timeline. Will that change for Flight 12 when we go to an all-new pad? We'll have to wait and see as we get when we finally get to have that launch. Old Wombat asking, what fuel does it have? This vehicle uses liquid oxygen and liquid methane as its 2 sources, and the reason is we can make both of those on Mars. So it'll be the ability to bring Starship home, hopefully by the end of the next decade, by 2040. Since it's methane, chances are it'll launch on time without incident, where hydrogen, maybe not. Yeah, hydrogen's a lot more difficult to launch. Let's listen back into SpaceX Mission Control.
With the FAA and international air traffic organizations to efficiently and safely integrate launch and re-entry operations into the airspace.
And we've got a special guest here.
Today.
We're live.
What's up, guys?
How's it going? Good to see you, boss.
Hi.
Hey. How's work going?
Good. We're live right now.
What the?
Yeah. Getting ready for Flight
Wanna say
11. How are you feeling for it?
Good. This is This is the first time that I'm going to be actually outside standing and watching the rocket. Because normally I'm in mission control and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
But now I'll be standing out in the garden there.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
it's really going to be much more visceral.
Yeah. You're gonna feel
Great
it.
place
It's
to
gonna
watch.
be. It's gonna be. It's gonna be awesome.
When it's filtering?
We'll be in here this time, but usually we're out there watching. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Good luck
Later.
and have fun.
Have fun.
All right, so that was an exciting cameo there. But yeah, starting with liftoff, we'll get into the flight profile here. Super Heavy will ignite 33 engines, 24 of which are flight proven today. We'll power through ascent ahead of hot stage separation, where booster will shut down all but 3 engines. Stage 2 lights its Raptor engines while still attached to Super Heavy. That is what we call hot stage separation. We'll see a directional booster flip and engine relight for boost back. And we'll be intentionally headed to a splashdown in the Gulf with a V3 style landing burn demonstration today.
Meanwhile, ship will continue with its ascent burn to a suborbital trajectory, where it will attempt to deploy 8 Starlink simulator satellites. And we're also planning to relight a single Raptor engine. Then it's time for a re-entry, where we're once again testing the limits of Starship's heat shield by intentionally removing tiles. The ship will also perform a pretty dynamic banking maneuver that mimics the path of a return to launch site for Ketch that will fly on a future mission. And if all that goes as planned, we'll conclude the test with a landing flip, burn, and soft water splashdown in the Indian Ocean. So definitely another action-packed flight profile, Dan.
This is planned to be the final launch of this version of Starship, version number 2. Right now, we're actively building multiple next-generation V3 Starship and Super Heavy vehicles in the factory, kind of right behind us, so let's take a minute and nerd out a little bit. All right. Those are going to be launching from Pad 2, which is nearing completion down here at Starbase. Both the pad and the vehicles are going to roll in really significant changes. This is building on everything we've learned from all of these flight tests to make a vehicle that we're looking to mass produce. Starting with the Starship upper stage, which is going to look pretty similar on the outside, but it's getting pretty much a complete overhaul under the hood. We're getting major design changes to its propulsion system that's going to accommodate that new version of Raptor, which puts out higher thrust. We're also getting an energy storage upgrades, tons of avionics changes, a lot of things that will enable longer duration missions. One notable thing you'll start seeing on the outside are these new docking adapters, which we'll use when we bring 2 Starships together for propellant transfer. That's a core capability of Starship that we're going to demonstrate next year. Bottom line, though, this is the Starship we're planning to use for all of our next major milestones: orbital missions, return to launch site and catch, reuse, propellant transfer, and then making our way to the moon and Mars. Now, Super Heavy, we've shown some of this off, some of this hardware already coming out of the factory. It has upgrades like this, a redesigned fuel transfer tube. That thing's roughly the same size as the first stage of a Falcon 9 rocket. That channels all that cryogenic fuel down to Super Heavy's 33 engines. We made it bigger. It's basically a rocket inside of our rocket that gives us a faster, more reliable flip and simultaneous engine startup. New booster are also going to have an integrated hot stage, a lot more vent area, and it's designed to be fully reusable. Pressure from those engine plumes gets vented out, mostly offset just by the pressure in the fuel tank. That is the top of the fuel tank. And then we add a non-structural layer of steel on the top that helps take all the heating. It's mapped to where all the high heating goes. Grid fins also getting a big change, going from 4 down to 3. They're 50% larger, though, much higher strength. They're also going to get used for vehicle lift and catch. That's all made possible. There's a new catch point addition on those grid fins. We've also kind of reclocked their position on the booster. That aligns them with the catch arms. Yeah, we got it right in the middle there. All right, and then powering it all, Raptor 3. Looks radically different, just straight up radical. Tons of major changes. It's coming in higher thrust, dramatic reduction in parts, tons of control mechanisms moved inside. Our McGregor teams built some additional stands like this one, which essentially is the bottom of a Super Heavy booster, lets us do gimbal or steering tests. So that's been really exciting to see. We've also been getting vacuum versions of Raptor 3 into test. The first flight engines are already in production and are about to start acceptance testing for Flight 12. So a lot of exciting changes coming, and we're getting ready to mass produce everything, including one of the really key contributors to that rapid reusability, the heat shield tiles. Let's jump over to Tyler real quick in Hawthorne, who's got a really cool look at what's happening with tiles in Florida.
Thank you, Dan. Indeed, Starship's heat shield is the linchpin to full and rapid reusability. We can't launch, land, refuel, and launch again if we have to spend months refurbishing the heat shield after every launch, like they did in the Space Shuttle program. So, in a future where Starship is flying several times a day, many, many thousands of heat shield tiles will be required. So yeah, we need to get cooking on those tiles, which is exactly what's happening inside the fully automated bakery down at the Cape. In just 3 years, tile production at the bakery has surpassed the total number of tiles produced during the 30 years of the shuttle program. To go from the raw material to a finished tile, it takes about 40 hours. And today, the bakery is producing about 1,000 tiles a day. But it's set up to produce enough tiles for 10 ships per month, which is about 7,000 tiles a day, or a tile off the line every 13 seconds. So yeah, the bakery is well on its way to providing Starship with all the tiles for missions to Mars and beyond. And for today's flight, we've made a modification to the heat shield tiles. Dan, do you mind filling us in on what's being referred to as the Crunchwrap tile?
Absolutely. I always love to get to do a little show and tell. So we've got thousands of these heat shield tiles covering Starship. Now they're kind of all next to each other. There's a small gap in between all of them. You got to leave a little bit of space as that metal underneath will expand and contract. That way they don't crunch into each other and start breaking. However, that lets some of that plasma kind of seep through, and we see really high heating on the sides and then down on the metal. To help fix that, we have this, the crunch wrap that everyone has heard about. So we take essentially that's called Vulcan felt that we then wrap around. And so as these tiles are next to each other, you've got a small bit in between that's going to help offset that heating. It's just one of the ways we're continuing to iterate on this heat shield, getting towards rapid reusability. Hopefully it's going to help Starship live Moss. You know, everything is just going to get us to that end state of a fully and rapidly reusable vehicle. So pretty much the entire vehicle has those on it today. We've done this on multiple Starships previously, but this time pretty much the whole vehicle has it. So that was special for today. All right, enough heat shield tiles. Let's go quick check-in on the pad. So if you did notice, we did shift our T0 just a little bit. We're now counting down to 6:23 and 41 seconds Central Time. We shifted a little bit as we were working to finish clearing the range. We are monitoring sea and airspace, both here over the Gulf and in our splashdown location over on the Indian Ocean. We were working with the FAA, a lot of other international agencies to coordinate all of this. Good news, range is currently green. We're able to get everything out of the way that we are tracking in the Gulf. So weather status, I don't even really need to do, not a cloud in the sky, beautiful day, no probability of violation for launch at this point. We're not currently tracking any issues on the vehicle or the pad. You can see our fill levels are getting up there. We're almost completely done with our propellant loading. We've gone through all of our checkouts so far this morning, aligning our guidance, navigation, and control system, getting the vehicles ready for prop load, the farm. Everything's gone pretty smoothly so far. We got through our go, no go for prop load. That happens at T-minus 1 hour and 15 minutes. We've been loading fuel and locks on board the ship since about 53 minutes before launch. Boosters started just about 10 minutes after that. We continue loading prop until just around 3 minutes before liftoff, and then at that point we'll be ready to go. So bottom line at the moment, we're looking real good. Again, 6:23 and 41 seconds Central Time is our target T0, so we're going to keep counting down.
Sounds like great news so far. Thank you, Dan. And we do say it repeatedly because it's important to understand, but these flight tests are all about the data. Data helps us build and fly faster until we're eventually ready to fly people and cargo at scale to Mars. That is our foundational mission and basically just the major inspiration for our work here every day.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Amanda. And our first missions to the Red Planet are just down the road, and we recently shared some exciting news. Starship cargo flights to the Martian surface for research, development, and exploratory missions begin in 2030, and we already have our first customer.
Yeah, exactly. Starship is open for business, and one of the first payloads will be provided by the Italian Space Agency. They recently signed a first-of-its-kind agreement to carry Italian experiments on the initial Starship missions that deliver customer payloads to Mars. In related news, Starship cargo flights to the surface of the Moon for research, development, and exploratory missions will start in 2028. So a ton of Starship activity to look forward to, and if you'd like to learn more about our mission to making humanity multiplanetary, go ahead and visit spacex.com/Mars. Okay, now as we get closer to launch, development continues down here at Starbase, Texas, to shape this growing city into a truly unique place to live and work. And part of being a city, particularly one surrounded by nature, is environmental stewardship. The nearby Boca Beach dunes have unfortunately been eroding at an alarming rate for some time, so SpaceX is teaming up with Cameron County and the city of Starbase to stop that erosion and hopefully preserve the beach for years to come.
Yeah, and as one of its first permanent residents and someone who's actually called Starbase home for over 3 years now, I can tell you the beach totally adds to the uniqueness and awesomeness of living here. Starbase is truly unlike any other place on Earth. You know, where else can you see the world's biggest rocket every single day?
Yeah, Starbase is definitely the place to be, and we're always looking for more people to come help build the future of spaceflight.
Yeah, particularly engineers, especially for our propulsion and mechanical system teams.
You could be working on tests just like these ones, proving out the designs of our next generation Super Heavy booster. Fun fact, we actually tested the booster to 13,400 tons of thrust, which is more than the power of 3.5 Saturn V rockets, which is just crazy. We're also looking for civil and structural engineers to help literally build the future.
Whether it's buildings like the Gigabays currently going up at both Starbase and the Cape, each is a massive vertical integration and assembly facility with over 700,000 square feet of workspace. Both sites are currently in progress, actually going vertical as we speak. Or you could be designing the Starship launch sites of the future. There's really no shortage of future to build here. So visit spacex.com/careers to see all of our openings if you're interested.
Okay, now as we head into terminal count, all eyes are on the rocket. Dan, how are we looking? Are we green?
Amanda, we are so green. Everything's still looking really good. So we've got a green range, not tracking any blockers there to launch. We're continuing to load prop on board the vehicle. We're just about to close out, so we'll close out, again, just about 3 minutes and 20 seconds before liftoff. We'll close out on ship, and then booster just about 30 seconds later, and then you end up with about 11 million pounds of liquid propellant on board those two stages. After we're fully loaded on the vehicle, the pad itself gets ready for launch. We do what's called pushbacks. We clear all that prop out of the lines in the tower and the feed system back into the tanks to get ready for launch. And then in the next couple of minutes, we're going to do our final GNC guidance, navigation, and control system alignment. We're going to arm the automatic flight safety system, and then we're going to do final kind of wiggle checks on the steering for the engines, which we might be able to catch a quick peek at as we get closer to those. If we need to hold, which we are not currently tracking a reason to, that would happen at T-minus 40 seconds. It's built into our countdown. We can pause and wait there for any final checkouts, anything that we need to hold for.
Once we pass that T-minus 40 seconds, a number of events will occur in rapid succession. The ground spin and ignition systems come up to flight pressure, and ship switches to internal power. After that, the quick disconnect arm lockout is removed in preparation for retraction shortly after T0. Now, once we pass T-minus 40 seconds, if any problems come up, we do still have the ability to recycle the count under certain conditions back to T-minus 40 seconds and hold there to assess what happened and then see if we can proceed again to liftoff.
Yep, however, once the water for the deflector system begins flowing at T-minus 10 seconds, any issue after that would be an automatic scrub for the day, as teams would need to refill the deflector's water tanks as well as the propellant storage tanks at the tank farm before making another attempt.
All right, we are coming up on 3 minutes away from launch. You can see the frost line all the way up. We've just closed out prop load onto the ship. Booster coming up shortly. Yeah, in about 10 seconds, we'll finish loading prop on the booster, and then again, we'll have about 11 million pounds of that liquid oxygen, liquid methane on board the vehicles. Not currently tracking a reason to hold at T-minus 40. It can pop up at the last moment, or after we pass that gate. We can always hang out there for a couple of minutes if we need to. We do have some extra time. We're not constantly topping off the propellant in these vehicles, so we have about a 7-8 minute window where we can wait for any final issues to clear. We're not currently tracking a reason to hold there. Again, our range continues to be green as we look at sea and airspace both out over the Gulf and in our reentry zone out in the Indian Ocean. All right, 2 minutes, 15 seconds to go. A lot of things on tap for Flight 11. Planned to be the last launch of this version of Starship and Super Heavy. Once again, we're really focused on getting ship over to reentry Once we get to that phase, we're going to dive in. There's a lot of exciting stuff that's going to be happening on our way back through and down to the ground, hopefully out in the Indian Ocean. Minute 45. Should hopefully be seeing... There's a quick wiggle check. Checking out the thrust vector control, the steering on the booster. We use those inner 13 engines. Doing their one final dance before the big show. And we'll do that one more time after we cross that T-minus 40 gate. Alright, range continues to be green. Still not tracking any issues on vehicle or pad. 1 minute to go. As a reminder, we can hold at T-minus 40. We're not planning to. All right. We're through T-minus 40. Let's listen in. Flight Director Ty Huntington back in the seat. Take us through the final
Flight
seconds
Directors, go for launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Go Super Heavy. Go Starship. Thanks for all the historic flights, Pad 1.
Vehicles pitching downrange. Booster Raptor chamber pressure nominal.
Booster and ship, nominal power and telemetry.
All right, we are about 45 seconds into flight. We're still getting the rattle here at Star Factory. We are seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor engines lit on Super Heavy as it arcs across the Gulf. Coming up next on Max Q.
Max Q.
So at this point, we've passed through that period of maximum aerodynamic pressure. The next thing we're looking forward to is going to be hot staging. So we've got 33 out of 33 Raptors lit. Super Heavy makes its way uphill. Hot staging is going to be coming up in just a little over a minute. At that point, we're going to see all but 3 of those Raptor engines on Super Heavy shut down. Our version of MECO. Most engines cut off instead of main engine. And then after that, we're going to release the clamps that are currently holding Starship to that hot stage adapter. It's then going to ignite its 6 Raptor engines to push it away from Super Heavy and then start making its flight uphill. So in about 30 seconds, we're going to see the engine start to shut down on Super Heavy. You'll see them kind of shut off in separate banks until we've just got those 3 center engines that never stop running for this process, and then looking for 6 ship Raptors. All right. MECO coming up in about 10 seconds. See the engines throttling down.
Booster engine cutoff. Ship ignition.
Stage separation. Use backburn startup.
All right, successful hot staging maneuver. So we've got 12 of the 13 engines lit back up on booster, so it's doing its boost back. Real excitingly,
Ship
though,
chamber
we've got
pressure's
6
nominal.
out of 6 Raptors lit on ship there, so it's now going to continue to make its ascent into outer space. Meanwhile, this boost back is happening. We're using those 13 engines, so everything, well, 12 out of the 13, and then we go down to 3, and then we're going to shut down for the end of boost back. That's sending Super Heavy back
Ship
towards its
avionics,
planned
power
splashdown
telemetry
zone in the Gulf. Right after we finish this boost back burn, we're also going to separate the hot stage. This will be the final time
Boost back
that
burn
we're
shutdown.
doing this. Is all right, there's the end of the boost back burn. We should be seeing the hot stage. There. So the hot stage separates. It's going to make its way down, also splash down in the Gulf. In the meantime, though, these 6 ship Raptors are going to continue firing for about 5 more minutes. Next up for the booster, though, is going to be its landing burn. There's a cool tracking shot. We dump some of the prop out on our way back in. All right, so for booster, this is one of the main things we're trying to get is going to be this landing burn. Oh, that's so you can see the hot stage kind of making its way towards the left side. So that's the bottom of the booster. It's about to pass right in front of where you can see some of that prop dump happening. They look like they're close together, but there's a good amount of distance between them, and the hot stage will go down and splash down in the Gulf while the booster comes back for its landing burn.
Starship is on nominal trajectory.
All right. Looking good on our trajectory, looking good on everything. Jake and Amanda, you guys with me down there?
Yeah, definitely. The crowd is gathering over here in the office. You can definitely feel the energy in here. Great to see that booster is making its way down to the splashdown zone in the Gulf.
Yeah, the shaking down here was absolutely nuts. The windows are still there, still intact, so that was pretty awesome. But yeah, booster's coming down. We're at about 30
Booster
kilometers.
FTS
About.
received.
All right, yeah, and as we approach that landing, just like tower catches, we will be doing a 13-engine landing burn to slow down. This time it will be in a V3 configuration. And as we're starting to get into the denser part of the atmosphere, the booster is using 4 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through atmospheric entry towards its landing site.
And we're just
Ship
about
chamber
20
pressure's
seconds
continuing to be
away
nominal.
from landing burn start, where we'll first ignite the center 13 engines, then bring that down to 5 to slow down the booster for landing. And finally, that will come down to 3, and we'll cut all of them off while we're still about 200 meters in the air. So booster is going to see a bit of a harder
Booster landing burn startup. Booster landing burn shutdown.
And there we heard it, booster landing burn shutdown. We saw a 13 to 5 to 3 V3 demonstration, and into the water we go. Wow, that was absolutely awesome. If you can even hear us right now, congrats to the whole SpaceX team. So far, so good for today. That was incredible.
All right, great stuff, guys. I'm jealous of the crowd. All right, back to ship. Ship still making its way. We've got a little under 2 minutes left in this ascent burn, so we've got all 6 Raptor engines still firing. So the next major milestone we're going to be looking for is SECO. That's our second stage engine cutoff. That's should be coming right at about 8 minutes and 58 seconds into flight, so we've got about 1:20 still to go. Really cool to see booster go through that landing burn. That was one of our really key demonstrations we wanted to try and do today. That's mimicking what we're going to be hopefully doing. Oh, we just got our sonic boom, sounds like, from the booster coming back. All right, less than a minute to go. So we are going to see the 3 RVACs, the vacuum optimized engines, shut down first, and then we'll shut down those 3 center engines. So we should be a little under a minute until SECO. Just a reminder, this is putting us into a suborbital trajectory, so we're intentionally just going slow enough that we're not going to achieve full orbit. This puts us on a course where those engines shut off, and no matter what, we're coming back.
Starship is in terminal guidance.
In the Indian Ocean. All right, terminal guidance. So we should start seeing the shutdowns come up in just a couple seconds. Less than 30 seconds to go in this ship ascent burn. All right, RVACs have shut off. 3 more to go.
Ship engine cut off.
All right, all ship Raptors have shut
Nominal
down.
orbit insertion.
You just heard nominal orbital insertion, so we are on the path that we wanted to be. So we've got a ship back in space, a whole lot planned for it, lots more still to come. Great seeing Super Heavy make its way to the water, but I'm excited to see what ship can do in space. How's everybody doing down there?
Yeah, if you could hear the crowd behind us this whole time, people are definitely happy with how the day's been panning out so far. Definitely exciting to see Starship safely in space, and super pumped to see all the team's hard work in action here today.
Yeah, and we guaranteed it at the start of the show, but it has been an awesome day so far. It's crazy. All this has happened in just 10 minutes. All the objectives were met on the booster, including that V3 style landing burn. So now all eyes are on the ship as we get ready for our in-space objectives. But we've got a few minutes until that next milestone, so sit tight, enjoy the views, enjoy the space jams. We'll be back at T plus 16 minutes for payload deploy.
And if you're just joining us, scroll back 10.5 minutes. An absolutely fantastic launch. I want to say, and maybe the back channels can correct me, was this the first Starship that never held in a countdown? At least for V2, I think for sure, if not all of the integrated flights. So that's another huge milestone to get from initial start of a countdown all the way to liftoff without a stop. Is just proving that they're ironing out the kinks in here. Some gorgeous views coming in from Starship in orbit there, or near orbit, of the sunset happening behind it here. We are now just about 7 minutes away from the expected beginning of that payload deployment. That sequence of events expected to last about 5 minutes today, where they'll deploy, I believe it's 11 more Starlink simulators or Simlinks into a suborbital trajectory here today. Unfortunately, due to the time that they launch, that means all of this will be again in the night side. So we'll probably we'll have those internal views, I'm sure. Maybe we'll get to see them from some. I'd love to see like an angle like this when they deploy one, so we see it, actually come out of the ship. But we'll have to wait and see. Might have actually had a flash of lightning there down on the Earth from the view here, but there is lots more to happen, so don't go anywhere. We've got the Starlink deployment, we have a Raptor relight test, and then we have the big part of the test. How will ship 38 do heading back down to the ocean here? Splashdown expected 1 hour 6 minutes 25 seconds into flight, so we've got just under an hour for that, but that whole re-entry period actually begins at the 47-minute mark. So we're less than about 30 minutes, 35 minutes away from that kicking off. So in this time, between now and payload deployment, and then after payload deployment and re-entry, we're going to be answering your guys' comments and questions. So you can send those in the chat by tagging me at the launch pad, and we will work on answering those live for you here today. Just make sure you're doing that tag. It really does help me out. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. We appreciate you being here. Take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage. Wow, some incredible views of where would the Caribbean there, some of the islands that they're flying over there. Looking at their location, that might be Dominican, somewhere around. Yeah, that's probably the Dominican Republic that they're passing over now. Some incredible views, all coming via Starlink here. But a quick programming note: we mentioned it earlier in the countdown. We are keeping an eye on the launch of Project Kuiper out of Florida. That launch has slipped to quite late into its launch window. Now targeting liftoff at 9:58 p.m. Eastern time. That leaves them just 30, not even 24 minutes left in their window for launch here today. So 2 hours, 20 minutes from now. So Starship will be done and we'll transition over to our countdown for that. We've got our rocket chaser Gavin getting set up out in the field for that flight. So we hope that you'll stay with us for all of Starship and then come back after a short break for Project Kuiper. But in just about 3-4 minutes time, we're going to expect to hopefully see the beginning of the simulation of the Starlink deployments. And ultimately, that is what we hope to see with V3. We hope to see them actually put Starship into orbit in the early flights so that they actually can deploy real Starlinks V3s into orbit to help expand the Starlink constellation. If we can get views like this with V2 and the internet connectivity, that was really poor timing. Views like this and it all pixelated, but if we can get these views and the views we'll get during reentry, and I know a number of our team use Starlink out in the field, and many of you do as well. We are just seeing what they can do with what they can launch on Falcon. Starship opens up a whole new class of satellites for Starship. Catching up on the chat from you guys for us here today. Chad says a good splashdown, even with a forced rud. Yeah, hopefully we'll see a good splashdown here. Cod says, how does time zones work on this ship? So time zones for most rocket launches are based around the headquarters of the mission, or for like NASA, they use UTC on the space station. So you normally have a set time. It'll be the same thing when we go to Mars. There'll be set times that are used for communications to make sure that we can communicate correctly. What time is reentry Eastern? We are, let's see, reentry is supposed to begin 47 minutes into flight. So we've got 32 minutes from now, making me do math. After 8:10. That's a rough, yeah, it's a little bit after that, but 8:10, 8:15 Eastern, somewhere around there, you'll want to be here for reentry. AMR, do you know if they still use some metal heat shields? I didn't hear if they had any on board of this one. I'll see if any of our team know, or if I can find that out for you quickly here. But okay, in the back channel, no, they're not. They did not work on the last flight test, so they scrapped them for this one. There's a view inside the payload bay where you can see those Starlink simulators ready to deploy. And we're going to listen back into SpaceX Mission Control.
Really exciting to see. We got ship on orbit, nominal orbital insertion, so right on the money with its trajectory. And now we're ready to start tackling a couple of in-space objectives. So next up, we are currently venting down the nose cone, essentially the payload area of Starship, as we get ready to open up this payload door. We were able to do this successfully for the very first time on our last flight, on Flight 10. Oop. Hal got ahead of me. Looks like he's opening up the payload door already. All right, looks like we got the door open. All right, so payload door is open. Next up, gonna be to start deploying these Starlink simulators. They are roughly the same size as the V3 Starlink satellites that Starship's gonna be carrying That's going to add some pretty crazy capacity. We'll run through the numbers in a little bit. We were able to do this for the very first time ever on our last flight, and so this will be another test. We made a couple of tweaks to the rails for deploying this based off of what we saw last time, but excited to see these get out the door. Our next
So excited for that
iteration of
outdoor
Starship's also going to have a more powerful PEZ. It's going to deploy these at a little bit faster speed, but looking to see our next demonstration of this hopefully in the next couple of seconds. We should start seeing them move out the door. I mean, that view on your left, so you're basically, that would be if you were sitting at the very top of the nose cone looking down. So there's kind of a short stack. There's 4 on either side, so 8 total. When we start flying Starlinks, for their actual deploy missions, we're going to be carrying stacks of about 60. So much larger stack once we start flying these operationally, but still doing a little bit of a short just for this payload deployed today.
Looks like we got a little bit of movement there, Dan.
Coax it out. Get it moving, Jake.
There we go. All right, first one going out. All right, first one's deployed. Getting ready for the second one here. We do a little reset back to the center position.
Yeah, it takes about a minute for each one.
Looks real smooth too. They made a couple of tweaks to those rails. If you watched the last ones, it had a couple of bumps on the way out, but moving out super clean this time.
Yeah, and as noted earlier in the show, but definitely worth repeating, Starship will deploy Starlink's more advanced V3 satellites, adding 60 terabits per second of capacity to the network per launch. So that's 20 times more than each Falcon 9 launch does today. Just incredible.
Yeah, and anybody that's been following Starship, you know, Starlink's kind of the MVP for these flight tests, where it's not only giving us the views we're seeing right now, but also just real-time data through every phase of flight. So we've got a couple dozen cameras on Starship. We've also got a bunch of cameras spread across the globe, including out in the Indian Ocean, where we've got our fun buoys floating. There goes another one. And I mean, we're using Starlink to bring all of this together. It's our drone shots you see here from our great team down here at Starbase, all connected. So Starlink not only giving us cool views off the planet, but also on the planet, help bring everybody along for all these Starship flights. I think that's number 4. Somebody check my math. Yeah, we've got 4 Starlink terminals on the outside of Starship. He uses that to talk to the constellation. And through that, we actually get about 120 megabits of bandwidth for our downlink. That's our real-time HD video, all of our telemetry. So it's not just kind of giving us these cool views inside, but it's giving all that engineering data in real time, including re-entry, when normally a plasma layer builds up and blocks you out. Starlink, powerful enough of a frequency that we're able to kind of punch through that and still get that live view. All right, next one out the door. There we go.
All right, yeah, Starlink is the world's largest satellite constellation operating in low Earth orbit to deliver high-speed, low-latency broadband internet. This provides internet access to people around the world, many of who have never had connectivity before. Oh. Right. Today, Starlink serves more than 150 countries, territories, and other markets with over 7 million active customers and counting. To meet the global growing demand for high-speed internet, SpaceX expanded its factory over in Bastrop, Texas, which is just outside of Austin, and also introduced Starlink Mini, as well as an upgraded version of the Starlink Standard kit.
Yeah, and one thing to note about this satellite deploy is that they will be following the same suborbital trajectory of the ship. So these dummy sats will not be going in orbit. We do expect them to burn up on re-entry.
All right, couple more to go. I promise one of these days we'll deploy in daylight. But we're basically trading deploy in the dark so we get those re-entry views for the daytime. All right, I think we got one more to go.
All right, now with payload deploy complete, Starship will now close its payload door and continue to coast around Earth to the Indian Ocean. We still have a ton of major events to come today, including Raptor Relight at about T plus 37 minutes. That will be followed by atmospheric reentry and splashdown. So with that, we're going to go on another quick coast.
Yeah, if you can hear us.
All right, with that payload door closed, we're going to sit tight, enjoy the views, and enjoy the space jams. Again, we'll be back in just a few minutes for Raptor Relight, and then head back for reentry.
And if you're just joining us, some incredible views there of Starlink deployment. SpaceX learning how to successfully open a door, deploy some Starlink simulators, and then close the door. We can see that light no longer emitting out into space. 26 minutes, 45 seconds into flight. The next big event will be that Raptor in-space relight demo. That's scheduled for 37 minutes, 49 seconds into today's flight. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage of Starship, Falcon 9, or any other rocket launch, or almost every other rocket launch around the world. We're glad to have you there joining us for our live coverages. If you guys have questions, you can send them in. We'll work on answering them now through this longer coast phase. You can see the current location of there. Earth is turned on a 90-degree angle, but Starship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean heading towards Africa, where it'll do that crossing before it really begins its entry over the Indian Ocean. As I said earlier, entry expected to begin 20 minutes from now exactly. And that entry burn, or entry, there's not a burn, but entry period will take over about 20 minutes, all the way down to what SpaceX wants to call an exciting landing. So we'll see how the belly flop goes with Starship coming back down here. Shout out to SpaceX for their new graphic system. They've rolled these out the last couple of flights, but being able to see the live positioning and kind of not only location on it, but the position of Starship. Which side's up, down, tilted, in which way on the compass. It's quite incredible to have that data. For them internally, I'm not surprised that they have it, but to be releasing that in real time to the public is really quite an amazing thing to see here. Catching up on your guys' comments and questions, I saw a lot of people cheering along with me when we got to see that outdoor camera. We saw a little glimpse of what it would look like for Starship to deploy a payload. We'll hopefully see a real daytime flight in the early V3s, but as they said on their commentary, if they want to re-enter in daytime, that really helps them to have a much better view of the ship. So that is why they've chosen to do that, and we deal with not being able to see deployment in the daytime. But we're just about 7.5, 8 minutes away from when that Raptor engine test should begin. So stay with us right here on the launch pad in our live coverage of Flight Test 11, the final flight of Starship V2.
engines. This will be the third time that we've tried this. We did it successfully back on Flight 10, and then we did it for the very first time back on Flight 6. This is not a deorbit burn. This is demonstrating essentially all of the systems you would need to do a deorbit burn. So that's obviously your Raptor engine, and then also your header tanks, your smaller tanks in the nose cone, where we have liquid oxygen, liquid methane in a smaller, more easily pressurized container, which we can use for on-orbit burns. And we're also going to tap into those when we do our landing burn. So this will be a critical capability. Once we go to full orbital missions, you'll have to do a deorbit burn to break out of orbit, send it back down to Earth. But in this instance, we're already on our way back down towards Earth. So this is just going to demonstrate the capability of turning one of these engines on. We should be coming up in just about 20 seconds or so, looking for one of those Raptor engines to turn back on. They've been off since we completed that successful ascent burn almost 30 minutes ago. Here we go.
Oh, Raptor ignition. And shutdown.
All right, there was that Raptor relight. Looks like engine 3 full duration. As Dan mentioned, that's a third attempt, and we just did it 3 times in a row. So congrats to the team, the ship team, Raptor team. And then there we heard nominal second orbital insertion. All right, so congrats everyone on the milestone. That was awesome to see. We're 3 for 3. We're gonna take another break, and we'll be back for re-entry at about T plus 45 minutes. We'll see you soon.
1, the ship is currently re-entering Earth's atmosphere. As a reminder, we don't plan to recover the spacecraft today, but rapid and reliable reusability is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, the light show has already begun. You can see plasma starting to build on the windward side of the rocket there. And, re-entry is a critical phase of flight, and we need information on how the ship systems perform. Re-entry is also extremely demanding portion of flight because we need the ship to scrub off all of the energy we used to launch the rocket. So remember the 33 engines plus the 6 engines on ship that we used to get up into space, we now are using aerobraking essentially to scrub off all that energy. And of course, Starlink is a big part of this, giving us the views we have right now, and also letting us gather as much data as possible, which again is really the main reason why we do these flights. And the view we have right now is actually a really good example. As we mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, we have some tiles on the leeward side of the flaps here, and we have some different mechanisms, some stud out, basically to see if these tiles will hang on. And we can see already here, it looks like we kept most of them, but I think I see a couple there that are no longer there. So the thermal team is definitely going to be digging into that and taking that data to help us iterate on V3. So yeah, Starlink provides us with one more path to collect data and help us rapidly iterate Starship's design.
And if the ship does manage to make it all the way to re-entry, we'll collect valuable data on the spacecraft flying through the Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, or more than 5 times the speed of sound. Re-entry is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with spacecraft because it's re-entering at or around orbital velocity, which is roughly 8 kilometers per second or 5 miles per second. At those insanely high speeds, the spacecraft moving through the atmosphere creates a plasma field around the vehicle.
Yeah, and that blanket of plasma distorts communication frequencies, so it's not uncommon to experience brief blackouts in communication. All right, so big picture here, Starship is designed to land on Mars where there are no runways or other humans to help out. So that means we need to do a propulsive landing instead of a more traditional means like parachutes, which is what our Dragon spacecraft uses, or a runway like the Space Shuttle. Propulsive landing enables more rapid reusability.
Now, as the ship makes its way back to Earth, we should start hearing some callouts when we hear entry max heating and entry max Q. That means the ship has made it through the maximum heating and aerodynamic loads it will experience as it returns. So if it makes it through all of those, that's a pretty good sign that we're doing well.
Yeah, and we heard flaps have control of the vehicle now. Okay, there's a great shot there. You're starting to see the plasma build up. So we will hear a call out when the ship is transonic and then subsonic. Transonic refers to the period of flight where the velocities of airflow surrounding and flowing past the vehicle are concurrently below, at, and above the speed of sound, somewhere in the range of Mach 0.8 to 1.2. All right, a lot of numbers coming up here, but for reference, commercial jets have a range of cruising speeds, but most fly around Mach 0.74 to Mach 0.85, which is 480 to 575 miles per hour, or 770 to 930 kilometers per hour. Right now, we're going a little over 26,000 kilometers per hour. So compare that to the airplane at 930. It's like pretty crazy how fast we're going here. All right, and after we hear the call out that Starship is transonic, we should hear the call out that Starship is subsonic. Subsonic, of course, refers to the speed that is much less than the speed of sound. So at that point, the ship's velocity will be starting to slow down, and we'll be looking a little bit more like some of our suborbital flights from, at this point, almost 5 years ago.
Yeah, so re-entry so far is looking pretty good. You can see that plasma field. Also, again, with those missing tile experiments, especially, we're putting the ship through a lot today, but things are looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, we're looking good. I do want to remind people that we are pushing ship to the limits. We've done a lot of these missing tile tests. We did it back on Flight 10. Every time we do it, we throw something new and the ship makes it through. This time, we're really pushing it. We've removed these tiles in some of the spots that see the highest level of heating. And we remove tiles that have zero backup protection underneath. So there's essentially just bare steel. some of the heat of re-entry. And so do not be surprised if this is not a very smooth flight on the way down. But again, this is intentional. We are trying to find what are the limits for ship. How resilient are we to these different issues that could pop up? If we lose a tile anywhere on the vehicle, we want to know what that ultimate impact is going to be. So we've got a couple missing. We had a bunch pulled over the primary fuel, the LOX tanks, everything. This one, we've got a tile missing right on top. So that's going to see some of the highest temperatures during this re-entry, and there's just bare steel right underneath it. So we're going to see if Starship's robust enough to pull through that. Also have some tiles missing around the aft flaps, specifically on the leading edge. So again, we're getting a really good look right at the leading edge. That's getting really intense heating. So again, gonna see if it can make it through. See if all the flaps hold on, see if Starship holds together. But definitely could be a bumpy ride, but this is why we're flying. This is why we're flying in this part of the world. This is why we're putting Starship through these flight tests to really understand what its limits are. So we can then move on to the next thing, which is gonna be bringing ships back to the launch site for a catch. But for now, still on this suborbital, the light show continuing. Keep following it in. I think we got about 15 minutes until splashdown.
Yeah, Dan, it looks, you can see our speed our speed indicator in the bottom left there. It looks like we're starting to scrub off velocity a little bit quicker.
Ship is entering the peak heating phase of flight.
Looks like we can see some clouds down there as we pass through 70 kilometers altitude.
Yeah, the sun's starting to come up again. Ooh, there we go.
There we go.
Skirt is intact so far this time. If you watched Flight 10, you saw we entered with a little bit missing. That was ultimately traced to a little bit of buildup. We dumped prop on the way. We had a little bit of solid propellant buildup, and then either static discharge or the plasma ignited it, took out a tiny bit of that skirt, some of the aft flaps, but Starship, again, was able to fight through it, make it all the way to that landing burn. We addressed that, changed some of our prop dump con-ups, though, so should not be seeing that this time around. And as a reminder, in addition to these missing tile tests, we're doing kind of a unique flight on the way in. It's going to do what we call a banking maneuver. So while we're still going supersonic and even hypersonic, we're doing kind of a banking turn. And then we'll do a pretty aggressive turn right as we get into the subsonic and start doing our belly flop. And that's designed to essentially be the approach that we would do on a return to launch site and a tower catch. So don't be surprised if we see the ship start to turn and make a few maneuvers as it makes its way down to the Indian. And fun fact, even though we're doing all this turning, we're essentially targeting the exact same spot in the Indian Ocean we went to last time. All right, just about 12 minutes to go. Still looking good. That gives a pretty good view of those aft flaps where, again, on the leading edge, I think it might be on the one on the other side, we had some tiles removed with no backups behind it. So again, we're really trying to stress some of the the most sensitive areas around Starship, where basically if you lose a tile, it's the worst possible spot. And if we're able to make it through this, then that tells us quite a bit about just how resilient this vehicle is.
Yeah, and that shot we just had earlier was looking at what we call the business end of Starship with all the Raptor engines. And those are the engines that we're going to be expecting to light for that flip and landing burn, hopefully in about 10 minutes once we get through reentry. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, looking at E3, that's the one we did the relight on. So it's 2 for 2 so far. We'll see if it can go 3 for 3.
Yeah.
All right, we can see that speed just continue to bleed off under 20,000 kilometers an hour. Ship still holding together.
Yeah, and if you look in the bottom right, looks like we've made it all the way to the Indian Ocean. We're coming up kind of near Australia, the west side of Australia there, so pretty crazy. We're only 56 minutes in, and we've made it all the way, halfway around the world. It's actually a good demonstration of a future capability we hope to have on Starship where we will do point-to-point transport on Earth. So essentially travel anywhere in the world in about an hour or so, which is going to be pretty crazy. Imagine going from New York to Sydney in 1 hour instead of the 20 hours it takes currently.
And a reminder, so this camera is, we see some of the heat rate picking up a little bit. And this camera is embedded right in the end of one of those forward flaps, so you see it moving around. That's the flap adjusting to maintain control. Looks like we're getting into our bank maneuver. Now power sliding through the atmosphere.
External temperatures are coming down. Vehicle is now at maximum dynamic pressure.
All right, that was basically our reverse max Q, so most aerodynamic stress that it's going to see during reentry, we just passed through it. So we're past that, we're past peak heating. Ship still holding together. So we're currently in this bank maneuver. We're gonna see it kind of roll over and do a pretty significant shift as we get down closer to the subsonic speeds.
Yeah, and that bank maneuver that Dan's mentioning is all in part of us to learn about the guidance, navigation, and control for return to launch site missions. So in the near future, we're hoping to return the ship back to the same pad we just took off on 59 minutes ago, and we've got to do some of these pretty dynamic bankings to make that trajectory work out.
All right, the light show kind of calming down as we're starting to move into the lower parts of the atmosphere. We should hit transonic, so hitting that transition between moving faster than the speed of sound and below the speed of sound in just about 3.5 minutes. Our landing burn should happen right around an hour and 6 minutes after launch, so we should be just about 6 minutes away from that. You can see lots of daylight. Everybody cross your fingers, see if our range team was able to get out there and provide any surprise views as Starship. Let's go.
Dan, you just spoke that view into existence there. And again, all brought to us by
RTS banking
Starlink.
maneuver has started.
All right, there we go. So we're now starting into our really heavy bank maneuver. And this does almost like a half circle loop to our actual trajectory. We're heading to the same exact splashdown point, but we're kind of doing a more roundabout way to get there, where it's this kind of big, long half moon loop and then a really aggressive kind of twist right at the very end. And that would line us up with the launch tower. Starship, on a return to launch site, would fly over the tower, do a quick landing burn flip, and then come down for catching the arms.
How about that S38 decal there, staying strong on that view we just had?
Good to see the numbers back on.
Yeah.
All right, should be hitting transonic in about 2.5 minutes. Landing flip coming up in about 4. Pretty clouds there in the Indian Ocean today. Again, yeah, we changed our launch times. We launch in the evening now, so we get these daytime views down in the Indian Ocean. One of the things we're really looking for, the reason we have the drone, other than, yeah, that looks really cool, is we're able to kind of see the ship. We can only see so much from these cameras. You can't see like the vast majority of the heat shield. So we throw these buoys out there. We've got there's...
You spoke it again, Dan. There it is.
They're playing with me in the control room. All right. But we have these buoys out there. We have these drones that we're trying to see externally how the heat shield held up. Everybody saw from Flight 10 it had a little bit of a paint job, a little bit of a reddish hue. That was from those metallic tiles that we had tested, kind of oxidizing really rapidly in that plasma and then spreading those little oxide particles all over the heat shield. No metal tiles on this flight, so not expecting to see that.
Dynamic pressure is coming down.
Hope nobody gets seasick. All right, coming up on transonic shortly. It's about 2.5 minutes of landing burn.
Yeah, and once we get to around the 15-kilometer altitude mark, that's where we have a lot of flight history.
Starship is transonic, starting the belly flop phase of flight.
Yep, that belly flop phase that we perfected in the suborbital campaigns, we're entering that now.
Right, starting to get those Raptors ready. Should be 2 minutes away from landing burn. Again, we're going to do a flip. After we ignite those engines, we'll go from 3 down to 2 for the final phase of the landing burn and look for another soft splashdown, hopefully by our buoy and drone, which are hanging out, ready and waiting for a ship.
Seeing all 3 center engines have entered the chill phase.
All right, less than a minute to go.
The ship is making its turn for final approach.
And here's this kind of aggressive final turn that would essentially position it so it's right behind the launch and catch tower. Flaps holding strong. Landing burn in just under 20 seconds.
Ship landing startup.
There's our landing burn. Three down to two.
Starship has landed.
As we said, we're not planning on recovering the ship today. Hey, welcome back to Earth, Starship. We are down in the Indian Ocean. Let him hear it, Starbase. What a day.
What a flight.
Oh. All right. Welcome back to Earth, ship. What a day. A whole lot more to go through. As you just saw, everybody here at Starbase pretty hyped. Hey, Tyler, out of Hawthorne, how's everybody holding up?
Thank you, Dan. We had a fantastic time watching. It was another exciting Starship flight test in the books, and we hope that you enjoyed those Starlink views too. So congratulations to the team at Starbase and everyone here and around the company. So many employees contribute to the Starship program as we continue to iterate and make progress towards a multi-planetary future. So that wraps it up for us here in Hawthorne. Thank you for tuning in, and back to you guys.
Yeah, what an incredible launch today. We had successful liftoff. Booster completed its objective, successfully splashed down over in the Gulf. Obviously, we saw another amazing Starlink deploy as well from ship.
Yeah, we made it through that re-entry, testing all the different experience. We had missing tiles, gave us quite the light show. We had that Raptor relight, 3 for 3. That was ahead of re-entry, of course. And then that awesome splashdown that we just saw, including that dynamic banking maneuver to simulate RTLS when we returned to the launch site. So yeah, we promised maximum excitement, and Starship delivered.
Definitely.
Congrats to all our teammates at SpaceX and to everyone who's supporting the Starship program. And thank you to all our future customers for your support.
We'd also like to thank the fine people of Cameron County, including the residents of its newest city, Starbase, as well as the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, the Government of Mexico, and the Australian Space Agency.
Yeah, be sure to follow SpaceX on X for updates and about more of the exciting views we didn't get to feature on today's broadcast.
And if you're interested in more launch coverage just like this, head over to spacex.com/launches for the most up-to-date information.
All right, I will take us out. Hey, congrats, Jake and Amanda. You guys did amazing. Great job. All right, today we launched the world's biggest rocket, knocked out all of our objectives. Shout outs to every single person who made this look easy. Thank you to everybody tuning in. We're going to see you back here for the very first flight of our next generation Starship. So we'll see you then. Good night.
And there we have it, the end of V2, officially now in the books here tonight. What an incredible flight. A repeat of Flight 10, but I would say even more successful. Starship had a much better look as it came down to the surface there. An incredible flight. As we get ready to wrap up, take a moment, make sure you engage that subscribe button to never miss another live launch coverage of Starship or almost any rocket from around the world. Also, make sure you stay tuned with the latest at Starbase with our Starbase Now broadcast. That is a 24/7 stream of all of our cameras down there. We'll jump on and do commentary updates now and again. We want to try to see if we can bring up a couple of shots here that we got from the tracking shots during it as we wrap up. We want to hear from you. What do you guys think? A rating out of 10. Let us know in the chat what you guys thought of today's flight, and we'll answer some last minute comments and questions as well. You can send those in the chat by tagging me at the launch pad, and I'll work on answering those while we conclude our broadcast here in the next few minutes. Now looking at an empty pad as we continue towards the next era of Starship, Pad 2, coming online, a new pad, a new booster, a new ship. It's almost a complete start over at this point is what it feels like, and that makes it more exciting. We'll probably see some more Ruds, probably see some more Scrubs, but it means that we are getting ever closer to becoming a multi-planetary species here in the future. I'm going to try to pull this up. We'll see how we do it. This is new to us, but here is some live. These were shots earlier as we attempted to track Starship for the first time with our cameras. This is a new thing for us, and new for us to try to get these on screen for you guys right away, but kind of neat to see the split view there of the live shot versus the flight earlier. Some incredible tracking by Magnus remotely from halfway across the country of the flight there during the tracking. An incredible flight there, and we actually found some new things we need to fix with the cameras to be able to track even further. We maxed out the camera, so we'll make some changes there, but an incredible shot. And then taking a look at the other shot, this is the stationary shot that we also had there. You can see the water deluge system pressurized on the right, startup, engine ignition, and then a liftoff of Starship Flight 10. These and a bunch of other launch highlight clips will be up on the YouTube channel, so if you want to see them, they'll also be over on X. Make sure you follow us there. But really incredible to see here these shots that we were able to capture for you guys. And some really incredible. Sorry about that, guys. We had a little hiccup there, little loss of signal for a second. We'll split back to the more stable shot here for you as we get ready to wrap it up tonight. But hearing what you guys think in the chat, they did lose some tiles, but definitely looked really good. Dalek says 10, Coda says 12, Luffy says 10 out of 10, Uncle Yukon says 15, Dreamland 100 out of 10, Jessica 11 out of 10, Mark 10 out of 10, James 10. Pap says 9 out of 10. We got Placerville 12, Deadly's 10. Stuart, thank you so much. I appreciate that. This is we're a Canadian organization, and it is Thanksgiving today. This is a holiday technically for us, so a nice little treat tonight to be thankful for. So from myself and the Canadian family and TLP, happy Thanksgiving to you guys. We know the U.S. has their Thanksgiving coming up next month. We celebrate both. It means extra pumpkin pies, so win. But I appreciate that. Thanks for sending that in there, Stuart. Peter says 10 out of 10. Amy 10. Coda 10. Great having you here. Paul 9.5. Brian 10. Absolutely fantastic. Mark says, thanks, Zach. Great stream as always. Fairmaid, thanks for the stream. Luffy, great quality for the cam. Yeah, it turned out absolutely awesome to have that there. Carrie says, thanks again, Zach. You're incredible as usual. 10 out of 10. I appreciate it. A lot of new things. We put a lot of things to the test today. Some little things that we can fix along the way, but I'm pretty happy with it, given everything we were trying new here tonight. So if you would like to be part of the TLP crew and are interested in helping make this happen, make sure you fill out one of those applications. I'll be connecting with people over the coming weeks as we take a little break at Starbase. Now, Pad A is officially going to be inactive as they take down the pad and build a whole new one. So for the first time in, what are we at, 3 years, 3+ years, Starbase is officially does not have an active pad at Starbase. So that is quite a thing to say as we await Pad B to come on, or Pad 2 to come online. Pad 1 is officially offline basically at this point, and we await V3 Starship, V2 booster, and Pad 2, which is basically Pad version 2. So lots of things to follow along on the 24/7 stream. We'll do our best to zoom in on both pads A and B to follow along with their developments. If you haven't yet, join us over on the TLP Discord. That's where our community hangs out in between streams. Check out the Launchpad shop for the latest TLP launch gear. We got a lot of stuff coming out in the coming weeks and months, so make sure you keep checking back there for the newest posters and items. Our 2026 calendars will be coming out soon as well. You can stay tuned on social media for those announcements with the TLP shop account on X or over in the TLP Discord. But that is going to do it for us here tonight. We're going to get more of these clips up on YouTube for you guys to watch on demand. Maybe we'll do a member hangout later this week and can kind of debrief Starship and have a member stream. So members, make sure you stay tuned for that. If you want to be a member, you can hit that join button down below. 99 cents a month gets you extra access to us here at TLP. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. On behalf of the entire TLP crew, thank you so much for being here with us. Make sure you subscribe. We hope we will see you next time. And goodbye, V2. But for now, from our TLP Canada studio in HQ, my name's Zach, and we'll see you next time because space is better together. Good night.